Hello everyone and welcome to this, the 13th episode of the Sockmatician podcast. I am Sockmatician, also known as Nathan Taylor, and you can find me as Sockmatician on Ravelry, Instagram, Twitter and right here on YouTube. So if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe and you'll be kept up to date on this site, all about my updates of videos, and I also do a lot of tutorials, so it's not just the podcast. I do video tutorials for knitting techniques as well, mostly geared towards double knitting, but not always. If you haven't already done so, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram, and I try and post on Instagram as often as I can. Head over to my group as well, Sockmatician group on Ravelry, join in the fun there and get talking. So, this is Gung Ho Podcasting. This is number 13. I just said that, so anything could happen, unlucky for some. I am absolutely flying by the seat of my pants this time. Not only am I doing it without notes because I haven't had the chance to prepare anything like that, it's becoming quite time consuming. And I understand what some other podcasters have been going through when they say that podcasting becomes a bit of a pressure, a bit of a responsibility really, rather than a pressure. It's something I really enjoy doing. I just wish I had more time in my life generally to devote to doing it the way I would really like to. So I haven't had a great deal of time, as I say, but that's the reason I've got no notes. It's also getting quite late in the day, hence it's rather crazy lighting environment. It's dark outside already. I should say it is Sunday the 27th of September and the nights are drawing in, although here in London it's been a glorious sunny day, most of which I have missed. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. I'm not going to be doing any editing, so this is proper warts and all. There'll be no helpful captions, I'm afraid. There will be no cutaways of photographs. I apologise about that. However, it was either that or not do it today, because it's the editing that really takes a lot of time. And Dan Jones of Bakery Bears will know exactly what I mean. He spends enormous amounts of time doing a fantastic job editing the Bakery Bears podcast, which is why it's always so brilliant and always so watchable. Unfortunately, at the moment, I just don't have time to do it. So rather than leave you all in the lurch, I wanted to record anyway. So let's just see what happens. Let's see how it goes. So how have you been? I've been incredibly busy, as always. My chaotic life is no less chaotic today than ever before. Since I last spoke to you, we've been very busy, Ben and I, with the secret project. We are working most days in the office, at the production office, trying to get everything together, and we're at a really tricky stage with it now, which is, I hesitate to talk about it because I know I haven't been able to say what it is, but it's I personally have hit a bit of a rough patch with it, and I've struggled quite a lot, so it's been a bit of a trying week for me. Monday I had a really bad day at work, and there's no point talking about it because you don't know what it is. All will be revealed hopefully by in about a month. I think the end of November. No, that's 2 months away. See, I don't even know where I am. Someone's very impatiently trying to get past. Welcome to living in London. Do you mind? I'm trying to podcast. 2 months' time, there should be the grand announcement, and we should be able to talk about it then. So, all thoughts paused until that moment. So that's been taking up a lot of time. Ben and I have been to see 2 shows at the theatre. One, we went to see Beautiful, which is the Carole King story, showing a lot of Carole King's songs. As it's not just Carole King's music though, it's also the music of Cynthia Weil and Barry Mann, who, again, a fantastic body of work. Go ahead and check them out if you don't know who they are. You may not know their names the way you will with Carole King, but you'll certainly know their music. To be honest, it left me a bit cold. Now, I was expecting really good things about this show. I love going to the theatre, as you know. It's my lifestyle, it's my passion. I'm not a huge fan of jukebox musicals. I like to see an original score where the songs have been written specifically to further the plot, to drive the narrative forward, and to take the characters to emotional places that dialogue alone can't take them. That for me is when musical theatre is at its best. And Beautiful was just, I mean, don't get me wrong, the songs are brilliant. It's the story of her writing career and her relationship with her husband, who was her writing partner, and his decline into sort of self-destruction and mental health issues. And also the parallel story of their friends, Cynthia and Barry, who are also writing songs, and they were vying for number ones all the way through. Quite a nice little story. Not a great deal goes on in it, but that's okay. For me, the problem was that because it's a show about writers of songs, every now and then, well, nearly every song, it was just a case of, hey, look, I've written this great new song, let me take it to the piano and sing it for you. And they would just sing the song. So nothing happened as part of the journey. The songs hadn't been crafted into the story in any way. It was just, now let's sing another song. And it got really wearing, and it got really... I got bored, to be honest, with that premise, because the script itself wasn't good enough to stand up on its own, so it needed the songs there, but the songs weren't helping out in any way. At the end of Act 1, where Carol's husband has just told her that he wants to start seeing somebody else and remain married to her, understandably she's quite perturbed by this, and started singing one of the songs that they'd written from an emotional point of view. Not at him, it was sort of her own thoughts coming out. And I thought, oh, finally a glimpse of something where something matters to someone and emotions are coming out through music. It was the only time it happened. The rest of the show went back to being, here's another song, which I didn't enjoy. We also went to see, last Saturday, we went to see Kinky Boots, which has just opened at the Adelphi Theatre, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't know, I've seen the film, clearly. For those of you who don't know, it's the story of a Northampton shoe company. Now, Northampton in the Midlands in England was famous for lots and lots of shoe companies. It was the home of shoes, basically, in England. And it went through a great big crash, and all of these companies folded. Now, this one company started making enormous, great big boots for drag queens and transvestites. And it turned the fortunes of the company around. And it's that story. It's fascinating. The film is great fun. If you haven't had a chance to see it, do go and check it out. The show is written by Cyndi Lauper, and it's really rather good. It's very formulaic. I have no problems with that. I think the formulas are there because they work, and people watching the show, people watching any show, need a show to hit certain points in order to be satisfying. You want a big climactic ending to Act 1 to send you out into the interval sort of on a high, going, oh goodness, I can't wait to get back in. You want the show to sort of grab you immediately on. All of these things which I think are very important in crafting good musical theatre. Obviously it doesn't always happen like that, but it was true of Kinky Boots, and it followed, you know, the very, very set pattern. Halfway through Act 2, everyone was at their lowest ebb, and it looked like everything was all desperate, and then it was turned around for a great big happy ending. The music was okay, it was great fun, it was perky, the choreography was good, some of the drag queens were fantastic. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. As a counterpoint to what I was feeling with Beautiful, I very, very much enjoyed it. Then on Sunday I hosted and I led a workshop on brioche knitting at Wild and Woolly, the shop in Lower Clapton Road in London. And it was really hard work. It was I wouldn't call myself a brioche expert at all. I'm new to the field of brioche, but I have sort of been working in it and trying to push a few boundaries, particularly with the working brioche with one pass, working two colour brioche with one pass rather than having to work every row twice, which is the normal way of doing it. Most of you will know this already. I'm saying that in case there are new listeners and new watchers, in which case, welcome. And so I don't consider myself to be a huge expert in the field, and I found it really tough. as did some of the students who were there, some of the people taking the workshop. And I was talking to Anna, who runs Weldon Woolley, afterwards, and she said she seemed to think it was very successful. For me, it was difficult. It was a learning curve. I think as a teacher, I need to structure things a little bit more carefully, and rather than just go, well, these are things I know how to do, everyone's going to be able to do them, is get more of a sense of what people might find tricky. For example, working the one pass method of doing two colour brioche the way I do it requires the dexterity in your hands, or the experience with your hands of being able to hold one yarn in each hand. Now that's how I do my double knitting. I have one yarn over this finger and one yarn over this finger, and I work the two fingers like this, going backwards and forwards with the two yarns. For me, that works very, very well. It's probably not imperative to work two colour brioche this way, but it's really helpful to be able to keep the two strands separate. And I don't mean separate like going through a yarn thimble or something like that, because you can't then work them independently of each other. So for me it made sense to try and teach it that way, but of course many people who've never done double knitting before, some people have, but will always hold the yarns in one hand or the other. And a lot of people are either right-handed knitters or left-handed knitters. And it caused people problems. Not everybody. So hello to everybody who came to my workshop, if you're watching. We did definitely have a successful time, but it struck me that I was possibly asking a little too much of people in one 3-hour session, which was really beneficial for me. And I apologise if anyone felt that the class wasn't as beneficial for them because of that. It's like, if you've been knitting for 50 years, for example, and one of the ladies there had been knitting for probably about 50 years, a certain way, you can't just make your fingers do it a different way, a completely different way, even though it's a new technique, and something completely different, but you can't train your hands like that, you can't train your brain in your hands like that. So I felt a bit bad that we hadn't had as successful a time as I was hoping for, but then I'm a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist in what I do, and in what I expect of myself for other people. So I think it was probably okay. I did enjoy it, and there was definitely some tweeting of photographs of swatches and things afterwards from the participants. So that tells me that at least some people did enjoy it as well. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with brioche, I've brought my scarf to show. This is the two colour brioche. There we are. So it's this lovely squishy rib. This scarf will be available as a pattern on Ravelry as soon as I can get the time to write it up. And on both, it's reversible, so you get different colours on both sides. But I've also combined the brioche with a lovely rib pattern that gets more and more complex, or more regular really actually, so almost less complex but more concentrated as it works its way up the scarf and then peters out again at the other end. You don't need to do brioche like that. It would be perfectly lovely to have a scarf that just looked like that. The texture of brioche is so gorgeous. You've all seen this before, you know what I'm talking about. But a full scarf of this simple two colour brioche rib would be great. It hangs well, it drapes really well, it's got structure to it, it's really, really warm, it's really, really cosy. What's not to love? So I wanted to share. I wanted to teach people. Well, I'm hoping that those people who took part, particular hello to Gemma, who also took part in my double knitting workshop a few months ago. I'm hoping that it will have given people a taste of what's possible, even if they didn't feel that they came away as brioche experts. How could they? It was 3 hours. So there we are. That's the brioche knitting workshop. I think I would think long and hard before doing another one. If I did, I would probably stick with more basic aspects of it and maybe not work on to the one pass method. Maybe that's a separate workshop for experienced brioche knitters. I don't know. All of these things are up for debate, but Anna and I are planning to put another double knitting workshop in the diary for January. And I think she wants to set that up quite quickly so that people can purchase it as a Christmas present for knitters in their lives, which will be lots of fun. So keep your eyes open for that. Roundup wise, the main reason why my life has been so chaotic and I don't have time for editing and all that kind of nonsense today is because of the title of this episode, which is Prix Italia. Prix Italia, I should say, with an Italian accent. Probably a very bad one. I apologise to any Italians watching if I say Prix Italia and it sounds terribly mangled to your Italian ears. The Prix Italia, well, I'll backtrack. Ben and I, as you know, are working on the secret project, and we are going down to the production offices, which is the same set of offices for the same company who made our wedding film. This is coincidence, really, that we happened to be in the office when a phone call came through from Channel 4, who were the broadcast channel for our wedding film, to say that we had won an award that we didn't even know we'd been entered for. This was incredibly exciting, and the award is the Prix Italia, and it's a very, very prestigious international television award, which, not working in a television environment, I had never heard of, but other people had gone, really, a Prix Italia? It's something not to be sniffed at. So it turns out that although the winners hadn't been announced, we were being told that we had won, because the award ceremony was happening. This was Wednesday evening, about 5 o'clock. The award ceremony was happening in Torino, in Italy, the next day, Thursday. And could we go? So this really is my chaotic life. It was drop everything. It was make plans. Thankfully, the wonderful Kat, who's working on as well on a new project, she jumped into action and she made everything happen. She got on the blower to people at Channel 4, and our flights were booked, and our hotels were sorted, and cars were taken care of to pick us up from Ben's parents the next morning, who lived near the airport we were flying from, to take us to the airport because we were flying at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was really, really early start, so we had to get up about 4:15. I didn't like it very much. I'm not a good morning person. In fact, I'm a very bad morning person. And we flew over to Turin. I mean, it was whistle stop. We cut our working day a bit short so we could fly home, well, not fly home, but race home and pack. And then we would have got in the car to drive to Ben's parents, which is about an hour and a half, an hour and a quarter's drive away from here, to save us a bit of time the next morning. But again, being my chaotic life, my car had been taken to the garage the day before for an MOT and some work done on wheel bearings and stuff. And I'd said, oh, I'll pick it up tomorrow. Well, of course, tomorrow I was in Turin. So also remember we didn't have the car. So we got on the train. Ben's parents picked us up very kindly from their nearest station, which is not particularly near, it's about a 20-minute drive away from their house. And we spent the night with them, which was lovely. Got up the next morning and flew to Turin. We were met at the airport by a lovely car. It's really exciting. I've always had this crazy thing. I've always wanted someone to be waiting for me with my name on a placard at an airport, and it's only recently happened to me in the last year or so. Now it's happened twice. So that was really, really fun. I enjoyed that. And we were driven to our hotel, which was the Majestic Hotel in Torino. Lovely hotel, very, very nice room. And then we were taken to the building where the awards was taking place. Now, Prix Italia takes place in Torino every year, and it's the home of RAI, which RAI, which is one of the main broadcast channels in Italy. And these are the oldest television awards going. They've been going since 1948. They're hosted by RAI, and that's why they're in Turin. And everywhere we went, there were sort of great big banners up across the street saying Prix Italia 2015, and it was really, really exciting. Whirlwind, completely whirlwind. We were slightly our heads hadn't stopped spinning by the time we got there. We were asked if we would do an interview on Italian television, Ben and I, were asked to do that, which of course we said yes to, which was very, very bizarre experience. It wasn't in a TV studio. It was in the room where it was a great big round room which was all set out for the award ceremony with the stage podium at one end. And at one side of it there were just two cameras pointing into the room and a little bit of a space in front with some chairs. So we had basically our backs to the conference and the cameras pointing on us. And the presenter, or the reporter I guess, was sitting, a nice lady called Laura, and she looked after us very nicely. Suddenly a woman came over and did the makeup on, and suddenly we were live on Italian television, being interviewed. But for Italian television, the interviewer was doing her own translating. So she would speak in Italian, and then she would translate that into English to either Ben or to me. We would give an answer, and we'd been asked to make sure we kept our answers very, very short because we only had a 4-minute slot. We would give our answer to her in English, which she would then translate into Italian to report back to the cameras. It was a really peculiar experience. It was quite a stilted interview. We didn't get a chance to say very much, but that was all fine. It was nice to do that, and she was lovely. What was really nice as well is we've made some friends in Italy who we stayed with a couple of years ago, on holiday about 3 years ago, with our friend Julie, who run a beach, and we got to know them very well. And they've since been over to England to visit, and we've met up with them. And Roberto and Raffaella, lovely, lovely people owning Lido Ithaca, which is a beach near Pescara in Italy. And as soon as we'd been on the television, I got a WhatsApp message from Roberto, whose English is almost non-existent, but he manages to get by. And typing, he's saying, "We see you on Italian TV, we love you so much, well done, we miss you, we're so proud." And it was they were very excited, and it was really fun that just out of the blue, that 4-minute moment, they'd happened to be watching and they'd seen us, which was great. Then the award ceremony itself, which was charmingly shambolic. A lot of people we've spoken to about this have said how Italian organisation is very much, whatever. And it really seemed to be the case with this. It was kind of awkward and embarrassing and sweet and charming and overall just not pompous. Ben and I, this sounds awfully arrogant when I say this, but because of our wedding film, we've been to 5 or 6 award ceremonies over the last year, and many of them take themselves very seriously. They're big glitzy events where everything is sort of stage managed to the nth degree, and there's little personality in it. Well, the Prix Italia was so lovely. It was really, really charming. There was a real sense that these were people that really care. I think there's about 80 different countries had been entered, had entered films into it from various different categories. We won the performance arts, music and dance category. Obviously our film has a lot of music in it, but it's not really about performance art. The bizarre thing about our film is every single award that we've been nominated for, including the now 2 that we've won, one of those being there, we've been nominated in a different category. So it's obviously a programme that's kind of hard to quantify. So this one was performance arts, music and drama. So we won that. It was a little bit awkward. We were called up onto the stage before we should have been. So we stood there while they then showed a clip of the film, and then they were talking. We'd been told that they weren't doing acceptance speeches, and Ben and I had prepared some things that we wanted to say. And so we thought, okay, but then we'd been told that we weren't having speeches. What they were doing was they were bringing media students from the university in Turin to ask questions, to interview each one of the winners. So we were interviewed by a very nice lady from Norway, and her question was, were we worried that people would look upon our film as just reinforcing stereotypes? And of course the answer was yes, and we were able to talk about that, how we confronted that. But we also managed to get in some of the political points that we wanted to make. When we made our film, we were very, very keen that it wasn't just a glitzy celebration of two people that no one's ever heard of getting married on the television. We wanted to tell a much more social and political story, telling the struggle of equality, towards equality for marriage in the UK, and highlighting the plight of people around the world where being gay is still a problem. 80 countries around the world will put you in prison for being gay, and 5 of those countries you can be put to death. So let's not forget that there's important issues at stake. The irony, of course, of us being in Italy was not lost on us, because Italy is one of the last major Western countries to still not have any legal recognition of same-sex partnerships. They don't even have a civil partnership or equivalent. So that was a point we wanted to make. And we got that across, and it was very warmly received, actually, because although it's an international award, we were in the host country of Italy, and I didn't want to feel ungracious or ungrateful, because they'd flown us over and we were being treated very, very well, and it was lovely, but I think it was a very important political point to make. So we made that point, and it was very well received, with a very warm round of applause kind of mid-speech, rather than just waiting for us to finish. And several people, very gratifyingly, afterwards came up to us who had seen us and wanted to congratulate us on the win, but also to say, and thank you for making that point, thank you for saying this. It's disgusting that Italy is so far behind the rest of Europe on the subject of equality, and they desperately want things to change. I've also been doing quite a lot of research, and it seems that most people, the majority of people in Italy, are in favour of same-sex marriage. We just need to get the politicians to follow suit. And that's a point that I said on another little interview that we made outside for the web content, which you might be able to find somewhere on YouTube. Maybe I'll post a link in the notes. If I get around to doing show notes, I don't know. So, in fact, one person came up to me at the cocktail ceremony afterwards, and he said, without doubt, he said, me making that comment and making that speech in Italy, he said, for him was the moment of the ceremony. It was the moment of the festival, and that made me very proud and honoured, not humble. So that night we then were taken off, whisked away to see opera, and of course if you're in Italy, the place to go is opera. It is the place for it. Sorry about sirens. It's almost like I live in a war zone myself. I don't. The reason I say like I live in a war zone myself is because I was thinking about the other gentleman who was sharing cabs and a hotel with us, a brilliant TV producer called Anthony Vonke, who is responsible for making a programme called Children of the Revolution, which is one of Channel 4's most decorated ever documentaries. It's won BAFTAs and all sorts of things. Obviously it's Prix Italia and many other different awards, and he's up for an Emmy in the next couple of weeks as well. So fingers crossed to him for that. And that's all about the conflict in Syria and children particularly, and the plight of children in Syria. So very hard-hitting stuff. And that's why that was in my head, which is why I made the comment about living in a war zone, which I don't. My head sometimes goes off, as you know. So we were whisked away to the opera, and it wasn't Italian opera. It was the Chinese opera company who were performing the world premiere of Il Ragazzo del Re... I'm going to say that again because I got that wrong. Il Ragazzo del Riccio, which means the rickshaw boy, which is apparently an epic and classic Chinese folktale. I didn't like it very much. Do you know what? That's a bad thing to say. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of going to see it. The building we were in was lovely, fantastic old 1970s opera house. Really, really wonderful architecture. There was a cast of 60 people and an orchestra of about 50 people making music for my pleasure. That was all amazing. I have a bit of a problem with the way opera is structured in terms of the words don't tend to mean anything. It's just they just say the same thing again and again and again. And this particular type of music was very unstructured and it was a bit relentless, to be honest. There were some wonderful performances in it, vocally. The lead guy was very good, and the second female lead I thought was brilliant. None of these people's names I can credit, I'm afraid. I just don't know who they were. They were the Chinese opera company. We were in a box, and we all had a bit of a nap. We'd all been up since about 4 o'clock this morning. There were 4 of us. There was Ben, me, there was this chap, Anthony, and a German man called Anthony Pieper. Martin Pieper, the other name dancing, Martin Pieper, who had won for a documentary he'd made in Germany about 1989 Hungary story. And we all had been up since the crack of dawn, or before dawn, and we all had a bit of a nap halfway through Act 1. So apologies for that. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of going to see it. I was very, very grateful to them for allowing us to see that. I love new experience. I love going to see things I wouldn't normally go and see, so that was all great. It's not really my kind of thing. It didn't rivet me. However, as I say, the music was all kind of shapeless and formless, and the orchestrations were just messy, and it just a bit. There's no big tunes. There was no soaring melodies that, like you get with Puccini. So I'm not saying I don't like opera. I don't like this kind of opera. With Puccini, you get these amazing arias, and the music just takes you somewhere fantastic emotionally. This wasn't doing it for me, except right towards the end of the show, there was a moment. I don't think it had anything to do with the story. I felt that we were being subjected to some Chinese propaganda. There was a song about Beijing, and it's basically Beijing is wonderful. We all love Beijing. Nothing to do with the story at all. But 60 people on stage singing, and this really was a belter of a song. It was beautiful and powerful music, and that got a massive, massive applause at the end, and probably should have been the end of the show because the audience wanted to applaud that more than the actual end. Which goes to show you, if you do want to make an impression on your audience, you kind of have to give them something satisfying. This was the only real melody in it, the only piece of real beautiful singing in it, en masse, and the audience went crazy. They loved it. It's like, oh, this is what we've been waiting for. So that was great. The next day we did have the opportunity to go as guests of the festival to Milan for England, Milan for America, to go to the expo which is happening there. But I've been to Milan before. I don't think Ben has, but I had, and neither of us had ever been to Turin, and we wanted to spend some time in Turin, which meant as well that we were kind of no longer on duty. We were there for ourselves. We should have been flying back that day, but sadly all the flights were full and we couldn't fly back, so we had to wait another day, which meant we had 2 nights in the hotel and we were there over 3 days. But the Friday was a full day just to ourselves, so we weren't on duty. We didn't have to kind of engage in I don't mean this badly, but like small talk with people we didn't know, because everyone was really interesting people and it was fascinating to meet them all, but it can get quite tiring when you're constantly engaging with people you don't know, and we just wanted a rest. So Friday we just amused ourselves in Turin, and Turin is an incredibly beautiful city, just absolutely beautiful. We did so much, I couldn't tell you the things we saw and did. Everywhere there's a beautiful square, everywhere there's a beautiful terrace of houses, a lovely park. We did go up the Mole Antonelliana, which is kind of the symbol of Turin. It's this enormous, great big tower. It was originally built as a synagogue, and it's been used for various other things now. Now it's home to the Cinematic Museum in Turin, but it has the roof, the cupola, is quite extraordinary. It's this enormous sort of curve. It's 4 sides, so it's square, but each of the sides curve round to this enormous, great big height. And on top of that, there's this spire that just goes up and up and up and gets thinner and thinner and thinner. When it was built back in, I believe, the late 1800s, it was the tallest brick structure in the world. Think of that. And there's a lift, and it costs €7 to go up to sort of a viewing platform, which is at the bottom of the spire bit, but at the top of the domey bit. It's about 87 metres above the floor, so it's quite high. And Turin's all quite low rise, 3 or 4 stories, so you get incredible views over the city. This lift, not brilliant with heights. I'm okay in certain circumstances. This lift really freaked me out. It doesn't have a lift shaft, and it's not attached to a wall. It goes up the centre of this great big tower, right up the centre. So it's completely freestanding, but it's not in a lift shaft at all. It's basically just on wires. I felt like I was in the Great Glass Elevator at the end of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it just goes up, and it's glass on all sides. I think you can't see through the floor, but you can see through the ceiling, and you can see through all the walls. and all you can see is you're in the middle of this enormous dome and getting higher and higher and higher. I was like, oh, I'm not enjoying this very much. But I'm quite good at sort of just clamping down on things like that. I don't. My panics are always internal. I don't go, ah, I don't sort of freak out. But inside, I was freaking out a little bit. Then we got to the top, and it goes into a safe space. You can get out, and then you're outside, and it's all caged in. You can't do anything, but you could easily. It's wire cages. You could drop your camera. You could do all sorts of things. It's quite scary up there. Ben is not so good with that kind of height either. He was approaching the edge very gingerly and going, oh, I'm not sure if I can look over. But he got better at it. The views are stunning. If you get a chance to go to Turin, I heartily recommend it. Then we spent the rest of the day wandering around, and it struck me the lifestyle over there is so different from what we have in London, where everything's frenetic and mad. People just sit outside. There's cafes everywhere in the street, and people sit and have their coffee or their limoncello and eat, and people drink wine, and there's no problem. You know, there's quite a lot of young people walking around the streets, and in groups as well, but everyone's just wandering around enjoying the city or going somewhere. There's no sense that there's groups of youths waiting on the corners to cause trouble or intimidate you. There's none of that at all. And we walked out of the city centre and found this fantastic pizza place called Cine Pizza. At first, once we got out of we were kind of in the sticks, and it felt like a much rougher area. And Ben and I were a little bit nervous, thinking it's quite edgy here. It wasn't at all. We realised it was sort of like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and there were still mothers with children walking around quite happily, and there just weren't as many people around, but it suddenly felt very safe and very calm. I loved it. We walked back into the city centre afterwards, and the bar cultures, there were some live jazz bands and out in the street, and people were still window shopping at the shops. Some shops were still open at nearly midnight. Everything was just very relaxed and very calm. There was no sense of rowdiness. This was a Friday night. All of the restaurants and bars were busy, but not jam-packed. No loud music playing anywhere. We've got it wrong in this country. You go into a bar and it's full of people and there's loud music and you're screaming at it's horrible. So relaxed. I could do that more often. I could just really enjoy the pace of life in Turin, which is Italy's 4th largest city, it turns out. I'm having some water. That's what I'm having. This is for you, Tilly. And we then slept, got up and flew home. Then so that was Saturday, which was basically just arriving back and chilling out and eating. Today has all been about cleaning my kitchen. Ben and I have been so busy. Our kitchen has been a repository for all kinds of deposits. I'm so tired, my brain's not working. And I have spent probably 5 hours today tidying up the kitchen, scrubbing the floors, wiping down surfaces, just throwing out 2 bin bagfuls of rubbish that have been piling up there, doing laundry. It's taken me forever, but it looks amazing. The problem is, a lot of the things that I've removed from the kitchen are now just stacked up in the hall, so I have to sort of moved all the rubbish from one area to another. But I will just, it's a much smaller pile than it was, and I can now just go through that and put things away bit by bit, which is very different from having just a mess of rubbish. There was laundry everywhere. Oh, it's just horrible. And I'm hoping that I'll feel my life is a little bit less fraught now, that I can go into sort of a haven. It's clean, and just keep it clean. It's always easier to keep something clean than to clean it up, isn't it? That's the catch up anyway. That's what I've been doing. I have done so little knitting since I last saw you. We'll talk more about that in a moment. I want to then move on to stuff for the boys. I don't have anything really to share, but stuff for the boys, I'm talking about my lovely stitch markers from Joyce, who is Zoe Knit Girl on Ravelry and AussieYarning.com. Oh, sorry, Etsy.AussieYarning.com. You can see Aussie Yarning, and she'll be right, mate. She made me these wonderful stitch markers, and this time I'm giving one away. Not necessarily that one; it was the first one I had to hand, but I'm giving one away to I think a fairly new member of the group, and it's going to be her name is Denise, but I think she's known by D. It's D Audie. Deeaudy, Deaudy, who wrote in the Welcome to the World of Sockmatician thread on my group a really, really lovely post. Apparently she's been binge watching my podcast for the last week, and it turns out we've got lots of things in common. She's a performer. She's been in a production of Les Mis, an amateur production of Les Mis. She is currently in rehearsals for a production of Mary Poppins. But of course, Dee, I don't know if you know this, I was in the original cast of Mary Poppins. I was in the world premiere cast here in London, so that's another thing we have in common. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's so many things that we had in common here, and it's a lovely, lovely post. It's quite long, it's quite in depth, and I don't want to sort of break any protocols. It's there publicly on my group, so go and read it. It's lovely. But Dee, thank you so much. I really enjoyed reading your post. It made me smile so much. So drop me a PM with your postal address, please, and I will send one of Joyce's fabulous stitch markers or one of the sets to you forthwith. Moving on from stitch markers, well, that's community really, isn't it? That's not really stuff for the boys. I don't have any stash enhancement. I haven't been doing any of that sort of malarkey. This is a really bad knitters podcast. Let's go straight on to my grammar rant. This is really becoming quite a popular thread on my group, and a lot of people are talking about lots and lots of different things. So punctuation and text messages and things like that is a big bugbear for a lot of people. Interestingly, it would appear that in computer world, it's not done to. You can tell I haven't planned any of this. It's not done to have two spaces after a full stop. Now, I was always taught one space after a comma, two spaces after a full stop. There's an article, read the thread on my grammar rant. Teresa Seasons, who is proper on Ravelry, posted a link to an article about why it's incorrect. Now, the interesting thing is, the man who wrote the article is very, very vociferous about why it's incorrect, and it goes into lots and lots of detail. Most of which I can't remember, but he says that it's when typewriters first came in, they were monospaced, which meant that all of the characters had exactly the same width, which meant that it was easier to see where sentences ended if you used two spaces rather than one. And now that computer fonts are all adjustable, they're proportional width characters, so an I is going to be much thinner than a W, for example, that there's no need to do that. I disagree. Sorry, I disagree. I think punctuation is there as a signpost for the reader, and I think the two spaces are a really clear signpost that this is. I know the full stop is doing that job, but you can see at a glance where sentences end. I think it's useful. I'm going to carry on doing it. However, when I do it, Ravelry takes the second one away. When I type into the editor onto a thread or a new post on Ravelry, look at my typing fingers. Those are my typing fingers. And when I type a new thread, I'll put two spaces in after a full stop. When I post it on the page, there's only one. When I then go to edit it, it's still got the two spaces there, but on the page, there's only one. So Ravelry is doing that for me. I will continue to do it. And what did Teresa say here? It was very, very funny. I said, thanks for posting the article. It's interesting, read, but raises more questions to me than it answers. The writer is very emphatic about his argument. There are people out there who would be just as emphatic on the other side, and I think I'm probably one of them. I said, he says that the rule only came about because of people using typewriters, but that just means if everyone started doing something a certain way because of advances in technology, then that is the right way. These are how things evolve. It may be true that the original reason for the choice no longer exists, but that's also true for many other things in linguistics, and it doesn't mean that it's suddenly wrong again. That said, naturally, there is an argument to say that if everyone is using reflexive pronouns incorrectly, that has also become right, but that's just a step too far, don't you think? To which Teresa replied, so basically what you're saying is that only the rules we don't agree with should be allowed to change. And that's exactly what I'm saying. If I'm happy with it, then it stays. If everyone else is doing something different, then I'm going to go, I like it my way. Today's grammar rant. It's not really a rant at all. Well, it's a piece of information that many people don't know about, and it's about adjectives when they have more than one word. So a compound adjective, and the use or lack thereof of the hyphen to denote this. Now, what on earth am I talking about? So, an adjective, as we all know, is a describing word, and an adjective usually, I think always, describes a noun. So this is a painting. It is red. Red is the adjective, so it is a red painting. Okay? It's a red painting. There's also some orange in it. So if I wanted to say it is this bit here is neither red nor orange, it's kind of orange-red. So this part of the painting makes it an orange-red painting. So it is true that it's orange and red, but I'm specifically wanting to mean that the orange and the red are the same thing. So orange-red becomes a compound adjective. It's an adjective made of more than one word, and therefore needs a hyphen. A hyphen with no spaces either side. Correct use of the hyphen, that would make it something else. Correct use of the no spaces for the hyphen in a compound adjective. So you could say, what are some popular... I'm recording this on an iPad. That is an example of very up-to-date technology. Now the technology is described as up-to-date. Up-to-date is therefore a compound adjective and has two hyphens, up hyphen to hyphen date, up-to-date. I have been using this myself slightly incorrectly. Newfangled would be another hyphenated compound adjective. I have always thought that all compound adjectives are hyphenated in that way. Some of them are not. Ones that's an adverb that ends in ly are not hyphenated. Now, an adverb is a word that describes a verb. That's another story. The person on the stage was a highly motivated speaker. So they weren't a highly speaker, and they weren't just a motivated speaker, they were highly motivated. So you could say that that is a compound adjective, which it is, but highly is an adverb, and it describes the act of being motivated. So you don't hyphenate there. So, however, you would say this grammar rant this is not a particularly well-researched grammar rant. You would hyphenate that, even though well is also a type of adverb. However, so when you see compound adjectives in text, you'll start seeing them everywhere now that I've mentioned it. And then when you're using them, please put in the hyphen where it should go and leave out the hyphen where it shouldn't go. That is today's piece of grammar information. I thank you. Now let's move on swiftly to what's that? You'll notice there's no caption there, there's nothing going on. I promise you, I haven't got time. I'm going to upload this straight from the device. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to do it just like that. So there'll be no music at the end or the beginning. There'll be nothing. It's just going up straight as it is. Sorry about that. It's number 13. This week's What's Tat, quite appropriately, is all to do with the Prix Italia. And because the Prix Italia was all about Our Gay Wedding, the musical, and because we were making such political statements while we were there, this is this week's What's Tat, if you can see it there. It is one of the proudest symbols I have on my arm. It is the symbol for homosexuality, particularly regarding men. I have the male symbol as well. I've spoken about my planets before, but that's actually not representing the male symbol. That's Mars on my arm. But linking two of them together is a symbol for homosexuality. And I have that on my arm incredibly proudly. I am an incredibly proud gay man. It defines and improves so much of my life. So I wouldn't have it any other way. And I thought long and hard, actually, when I was putting together the shortlist for the tattoos I wanted on my arm, and I thought, do I want to make that bold a statement? Like, the answer is yes. Actually, I've got to that stage in my life where it is important that visibility is a thing, and that's only by becoming as visible as possible and showing the world that gay people aren't monsters and gay people aren't bad or evil or sick or different, really. They're just normal people living normal lives, loving normal relationships. When people see that, it becomes familiar. So I think visibility for me is key, possibly even more than protest. Visibility. And I think that's why a lot of gay people, particularly in well-known situations, have a responsibility to be out wherever they can be, so that people get used to seeing people that they love and respect and admire as role models, who just also happen to be gay, and it stops it from being a thing. I long for a time when we stop talking about gay marriage and just talk about marriage. It's just marriage for everybody. We're still talking about gay marriage, just marriage now, and all those things. When it just shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be an issue. There shouldn't be any fear for anyone to have to come out to their parents or to their friends or their colleagues. It should just be absolutely normal. So there we are. This week's What's Tat, is my bleached out, my very, very proud gay symbol there. So let's get on to some knitting, shall we? I'm really, really sorry. There's been so little knitting in my life in the last 2 weeks, apart from the brioche workshop. I have, however, managed to do some extra work on piano number 2, and here it is. It is now, I'm into the last repeat of the pattern. Here is the scarf. You've all seen this before, but it's based on the space-filling curve discovered by Giuseppe Peano, the 18th century or 19th century mathematician, 19th I think. And it's double knitting, of course, which means it's the opposite colours on the back. That's a black wiggly line on a green background. That's a green wiggly line on a black background. It's knitted with John Dunballen Easy Knitter, deeply wicked key lime colour for the lime, and it's the Malabrigo sock for the black. It's just Malabrigo sock. The two bases are almost identical in terms of thickness and weight, and they work very, very well together. I'm still really enjoying this scarf. I am going to love wearing it. It's really smooth. Both of them are quite tightly spun. I don't know if you can see. Try and see how smooth it is. I mean, there's not much of a halo on it or anything like that. It's really, really lovely to work on. And that's how much I've done in the last 2 weeks. From there's the stitch marker. So I've done maybe 5 inches. That's not too bad, is it? Not too bad at all. That's just an end from where I haven't woven in. Change of ball. Seems to have disappeared. Don't know what that was. I am, as I say, into the last repeat. The last repeat started here, so I've got some way to go still. Excuse me. When you consider that a full repeat of the pattern is from there to there. I've done about that much of the first repeat, so I've still got a good 10 inches or so. It's going to make it a long scarf. I could have stopped one repeat earlier. I mean, it's perfectly long enough, really. I happen to really like a long scarf. If I had stopped, it would be that long. And for lots of people, that's enough. For me, I want more. It's not going to be quite as long as my dither scarf, which is the longest scarf I've ever made. That's the one with the pixelating white at one end, going through to black at the other. It's not ever going to be that long, but it's, what is that? I haven't measured it, but one repeat is probably about 14 inches, and there's one, where's the other one? No, hang on, that's not right. That's not right. Where is it? Yeah, no, that is right. That's my repeat there. No, do you know, I'm completely going mad. I can't actually see it. It's there. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's the repeat there. I've got 14 inches. There's one. The next one would be there. So that's 2 repeats. Is that right? Yeah. The next one is 3 repeats. I think it's 5 in total. That was very dull for you. That's bad podcasting. I sit and count. Yeah, I'm going to miss knitting it actually. I really do enjoy it. It's going to be incredibly warm, snuggly and cosy, and I'm going to love wearing it. What was interesting, I was wearing, at the Prix Italia, I was wearing purple trousers, which were a very similar colour purple to the purple on this scarf here. Purple trousers and a vividly coloured purple and dark blue shirt with a deep green velvet jacket. And it was a lot of colour. And some of the people that we were there were sort of, they were commenting on my use of colour, saying how they were not brave enough to wear colours and they were worried that they wouldn't look good in the colours, but they really loved what I was wearing. And I was quite surprised really, because I'd never thought of myself as being the kind of person that wears bright colours. I'm usually t-shirt and jeans sort of person. And it turns out that I actually really do enjoy wearing colour, and big bold blocks of it as well. And I think it's partly because I'm getting older and I don't care what other people think, partly because the world is a better place when it's filled with colour, and partly because of knitting. Since I've started knitting, I've become much more aware of colour as a thing, and certainly as a designer. And I think I'm just more switched on to colour, and I have a greater appreciation of brighter colours than I ever have had before. And I think I hadn't noticed, but I think that's affecting the way I dress. I wonder if any of you have noticed the same thing. Let me know if you have. Please do let me know. So there we are, that's piano number 2. It's nearly there. It won't take me very long when it's done to write up the pattern, I don't think, because it's going to be, a lot of it is going to be fairly similar stuff to the piano number 1. It's just the charts and the numbers of stitches and all the rest of it that will be different, and they are a set. So it should be kind of easy to copy some information over and work on that quite quickly. I just need to get some decent photographs taken, that's all. So that's done, and I have entirely forgotten, with all this talk about the Prix Italia, to show you the actual prize. So here it is. It's beautiful. Ben and I love it. I don't think we're going to get a chance to keep it. We have to offer it to the production company, who have a table of glory in the corner where they proudly display any awards that their TV shows have won. They were brilliant, and they've allowed us to keep this one, which is the Grierson Award, because they had a duplicate made for themselves, which they paid for, so we were allowed to keep that one. This one I don't think we can get a duplicate for, but it's absolutely beautiful, and Ben and I love it. And look, here it is. This is the award for, you can see here it says Performing Arts. Actually, I don't think that's our award. I think we've been given the wrong one. Because I know that the TV Performing Arts category was split into 2 subcategories. One was ours, which was music and drama, and the other was performing arts. And that clearly says performing arts twice. I think we've been given the wrong award. I told you it was shambolic. So this is the Prix Italia, Torino 2015, it says there. And I think the name on the back is probably the designer, Michelangelo Fornaro. It's lovely. It's quite sturdy. It's brass or it's polished, brushed polished metal. You probably can't see. You can see the texture on there. It's really lovely, and I don't know what it's supposed to represent, but for me it looks like it's either flowers or it's like a torch, you know, a flaming torch. I think it's absolutely beautiful in this sort of velvety backed box, and it comes with a lid. Actually, it's been on the mantelpiece. That's the lid. Can you see it there? Which slides into these grooves to protect it. So thank you, Prix Italia. Thank you for recognising not just our film but our marriage on such an international platform. It matters a lot. I'll be very, very sad if we do have to give this away. Look, it looks kind of nice. Bad podcaster again. Who thinks we should get a chance to keep it there? I think it looks lovely. So, as for anything else knit-wise, I haven't even brought them over. Let me just grab. It's only over there. I'm going to grab my other whip. So this is the other scarf that I'm knitting for my niece. It's I haven't touched it. This is 2 podcasts in a row where I haven't done any more to it, which is a real shame because I do enjoy it. It's the scarf, I think it's going to be called. It's a scarf that is scary, the scarf, and it has double knitting and panels of travelling panels of brioche that weave their way down the centre. You can see the brioche better on that side with its fabulous herringbone pattern there. And it's got these lovely fun little skulls, skull and crossbones, where the eyes are holes. So you can actually see right through them. It's really, really fun to do. I want to get back to this, but that involves having time in one's life, and that's a luxury I don't have at the moment. So it's not any longer. It's less than halfway there, really, to make it a decent length scarf. I hope Becky's going to be able to put up with the, my niece Becky will put up with the slight itch from the alpaca. It's going to be really, really lovely and warm. It just depends on whether or not she's sensitive to that. She's hardy, she'll be fine. I haven't touched it, I'm afraid. So there we are. And the other whip, I haven't got anywhere near here, so I'm not going to go and get it. It's the socks that I've been knitting. Just the plain socks out of the unremembered, very poorly yarn. I was keeping this yarn, you may remember. The sock was sort of on pause because I was keeping it, expecting Dan Jones of the Bakery Bears to win Knit or Forfeit. Knit or Forfeit was the competition the two of them have been running on their own podcast, and Kay won. It would have been Kay's forfeit if she had lost to have knit with the pooliest yarn that Dan could find, and that was my sock yarn. I guarantee though, Kay, if you're watching, and I hope you are, hello, and congratulations for winning. Because I was going to be donating the yarn, of course that put me on Team Dan, but I was very proud of you. It was a worthy win and well done. I guarantee that if you'd knit with it, your tension would have been different from mine, your stitch count may have been different or whatever it was, and I'm sure it wouldn't have pulled at all and would have looked absolutely fabulous. But I'm going to get to keep it. I'm going to carry on knitting those socks now, and I shall enjoy them. So that was Knit or Forfeit. Now, for those of you who watch the Bakery Bears podcast regularly, you may have noticed in their last episode a little guest appearance from none other than your friendly Sockmatician. I challenged Dan to a round of Knit or Forfeit. Dan invited me to challenge him. I wouldn't just presume. That would be very, very cheeky of me. So he sent me an email and said, would I be willing? I was like, God, yeah, of course, to do Knit or Forfeit with him. So we're going to be doing that in the next couple of months. We'll be setting up a one-off. It's going to be lots of fun. I don't quite know how we're going to film it and make it work, but we'll do some technical jiggery-pokery, and it'll appear in, of course, the Bakery Bears podcast, not on this one. So if you don't watch them already, sign up and watch theirs. You can also become a patron of theirs. They do it professionally and full-time, and they do need support. So if you want, they've got a Patreon site where you can, for a small monthly subscription, get access to all kinds of exclusive material not open to people who are not patrons. And I don't think it costs very much. I think at various different levels, but every little helps. So if you like what they do and want to support them, then please do sign up and join as a patron. So we're going to be doing that soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be the usual format. They do, between the two of them, they've done 6 knitting questions per round, and 2 history and 2 Star Wars. Now, Star Wars is not my thing, and neither is history, but Dan has got round that. So we're going to be doing 6 knitting questions, which are going to be set by Kay. Now, I'm a bit nervous about that. They're really hard questions. So I hope I don't let myself down. And the other 4 questions that we're asking each other are going to be musical theatre questions. Now, Dan is a massive fan of musical theatre, and of course so am I, so that seems perfectly logical. And that's what we're going to be doing. We are going to set each other the 4 musical theatre questions, and Kay is going to set the 6 knitting questions each. So there'll be 10 questions from me to Dan and from Dan to me. The pressure's really on because I'm very, very competitive, and I'm really, really nervous that I'll be really cross if I don't win. So I don't know if Dan's going to be opening this up to other podcasters as well. I think they do want to make Knit or Forfeit an ongoing thing, so I wouldn't be at all surprised. So watch this space, and you may see some of your other favourite podcasters popping up on the Bakery Bears Knit or Forfeit strand as well. And now we move on to my Cal. Of course, I've got a Christmas Cal going on. The thread is open already. It's a Sockmatician Christmas Cal. A lot of people, Farhan, you've been talking to me, and a lot of people saying, do we need an official tag? One person in the thread suggested Sockmatician C Cal, Christmas K-A-L. And I think that's great. So Sockmatician C Cal, if you want to tag anything for Instagram, if you want to tweet or anything like that, that'll be your hashtag. It can be a tag on your project pages. Use it everywhere. Sockmatician, S-O-C-K-M-A-T-I-C-I-A-N. I can't do it. S-O-C-K-M-A-T-I-C-I-A-N. Yeah, that's right. Normally it would just be there. S-O-C-K-M-A-T-I-C-I-A-N-C-K-A-L. Christmas Cal. Although, I have to say, the grammaranta in me wants to come out again. I don't like K-A-L being knit along, because it's not 3 separate words. Knit along is 2 words. Knit along, because you are knitting along with someone. You're not knitting a long thing. Like a scarf is a long thing, where a and long are 2 separate words. Knit along should just be K-A. There, I said it. If anyone can give me a good reason why it's 3 separate words, maybe I'll be happier. So Sockmatician C-Cal. The thread is up. The rules are you need to be a member of my group, you need to be knitting something designed by me, and I've got a current discount, which is Christmas Knit Along coupon code, which entitles you to 50% off any of my patterns between now and the 2nd week of October. So you've got another 2.5 weeks of that discount. Now, there's been quite a good uptake on that discount, which is lovely, and I'm very, very happy about that. I'm expecting, therefore, to see a lot of people participating in the knit along, rather than just taking advantage of cheaper discount tickets, not tickets, patterns. People are buying in bulk. Do you know, I would do the same. But please enter the knit along. It's there for that. And the knit along just means you're going to get a chance of winning prizes as well. What I'm going to do, I'm changing some of the rules of what I do on the podcast. It's becoming quite Joyce's wonderful stitch markers, which I've been giving away every episode. It's becoming quite a pressure to find somebody who's written something fabulous, and normally the banter on the group is just kind of backwards and forwards. So I'm not going to do that every week. I'm just going to do it every now and then. So that's that. Some of those I'm going to make as prizes for the knit along as well. There will also be free copies of patterns of mine, maybe some mystery skeins of yarn or something like that from Stash that I'd like to share with people. And which won't just be little castle things I don't want. There'll be nice things, the things I don't necessarily have a particular use for at the moment. Now I completely have forgotten, but I've had a very generous offer of a prize for my. I have to find this. A prize for the knit along of a project bag. Now, where is this lovely lady's message? I can't even find it. That's awful, isn't it? Is it these? No. No, it's not that. Sorry about this, everybody. This is terrible. Yes, I found it. So, this is a lady who goes by the Ravelry name of Kilts and Quilts, Kiltsnquilts, and she has her first name is Leanne. And she lives in New Zealand, which is very, very exciting. Hello to everybody in New Zealand, and hello particularly to Leanne. Leanne has offered one of her project bags for the Christmas knit along, and she sent a photograph of one of the bags that she has made already. It's her own design. You see that? Really, really lovely. It's a gathered top with a hand strap in the same material. She obviously works under the name Stitch Union there, because she's originally English but now lives in New Zealand. And that's a sort of sock-sized project bag. And looking at some of the other things that she's done, they're all really kind of gender neutral kind of stuff, which is perfect. Thank you. So thank you, Leanne. That's really, really very, very generous. And what she's going to do is she's going to make the bag. She hasn't made it yet. She's going to make it and send me photographs of it. There's no point sending it to me from New Zealand to show on the podcast, but I will be able to show photographs, and then when I give her the winner's details, she'll be able to ship it from New Zealand, which is incredibly generous, and I'm very, very grateful to her for that. And I want to find out what her Etsy name is, because I don't think I've got it. Let me just go to her. See, I didn't plan this. Okay, she's her website is called Stitch Union, and her Etsy. I thought she had an Etsy site. Maybe it's not. She has a blog. Anyway, let me send you to her blog, and I will try and find the full details of it. Sorry, Leanne, I can't find your Etsy. But it's stitchunion.blogspot.co.uk. stitchunion.blogspot.co.uk, and that's. Let's see if I've got the complete profile. It might be. It's my last resort. No, I can't find it, I'm afraid. But I know she's planning on doing an update soon, so check out Kilts and Quilts on Ravelry, and maybe you can find your way to her Etsy store. Her bags are lovely. I would love it for people to buy them from her, because isn't it great that people who don't know about her work may find that they love it and want to buy her stuff? That's why I'm here. So thank you, Leanne, so much for that. I've also got thanks to Teresa Proper on Ravelry for sending me a really lovely gift, which is a pattern that she has designed. My computer's turned itself off. Oh, no, here it comes. and it's called Fibonautilus, and she has sent a copy to me. It's a shawl based on Fibonacci sequence. 1, 2 is 3, plus 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, 5 plus 8 is 13, we know. And it's a shawl that works its way round in a spiral like a nautilus, so hence Fibonautilus. It's a very, very generous thing, and I love the mass that has inspired it. I think that's lots and lots of fun, and I believe this is Teresa herself. So there you are, see a little glimpse of the designer there. So it's a really lovely thing. It works very well with striping yarn, and I will hopefully get a chance to make that at some point. I don't think I've got any yarns at the moment that would be particularly suitable for it, but it only takes about 200 grams of sock yarn, so I should be able to get hold of something from somewhere. But that's really lovely, and she wanted to share it with me because of the maths in it, and she knew I'd appreciate that, which I do, particularly with the matician part of my handle, which I apparently don't know how to spell. But Teresa also has some lovely other designs that she has put together on her site. I'm a massive fan of what's called the riverbed socks. These are lovely, and have a look at those. You see all those like Bavarian twisted stitches. It looks like, well, actually no, I'm not sure they are. I think on closer look, I think they're not twisted stitches at all. I think that's all increases and decreases, but maybe I've got that wrong, and Teresa can put me right on that. But do you know what they are? They look like they're twisted, but I think it's all increases and decreases. It looks like it's got drop stitches going on. If you look at the back of them, they're really nice, really, really nice. iPad's not coping very well with light meter readings at the moment. I love those. So that's the Riverbed Socks by Teresa Seasons, who is T Gale Designs on Ravelry, so T-G-A-I-L, T Gale. And pop over and check out her store, and maybe buy some of her patterns, because they're nice, and she's a nice lady. So thank you to Teresa for that. Oh, I do have one more thing. I was about to round it up. Now, allied to my Christmas knit along, I want to go back to and do a big push for my Remember cowl. So for those of you who remember the early sessions, this is a double knit cowl which is inspired by my odyssey to the First World War grave sites, and because we're of course in 4 years of centenary commemorations of the First World War, it felt right to try and commemorate this, and so the pattern of poppies works its way all the way around, getting more and less as you go. Being of course double knit, it's reversible, so you get a chance to see two sides. Now the reason I'm bringing this up now is I'm very well aware that I have a brain dead. I have a discount going on at the moment, which is entitling everyone to 50% off, and a number of people have bought this, which is great, and I hope you enjoy making it. However, we're coming up to Remembrance Day, so of course the 11th of November every year, and to give people chance and encouragement to make and wear one of these and finish it in the time between now and then, I'm going to be saying that yes, there's from now on, so as soon as this goes live, which will be probably tomorrow, the 28th, Monday the 28th of September, through to the 11th of November, anybody who buys this cowl, be it part of the discount or not, I will donate part of the money for that to the British Legion, who are the poppy people supporting soldiers from the Great War and the legacy thereof. So I'm going to say, if anyone is buying it at the discounted price, which is £2.25, give or take some VAT, then I will donate 50 pence of that to the British Legion. But and I encourage you to do this, if you would rather buy it at full price, I'll donate some more. I'll donate £1 from everyone. I haven't really done the maths here, so I don't know what that's going to work out as. I don't know how much people will want. But I think if you want to support a worthy cause and you want to get involved, I'm going to set up our own little knit-along. So you can, this will be a Remember Cowl knit-along. No prizes for that one, it's just supporting each other and getting on with it. But I want people to know that they're doing something good. Obviously, no, I don't know where that thought was going. So this is the Remember Cowl, and 50p from every 50p from every discounted cowl bought between now and the 11th of November, and £1 from every full price cowl will go to the Foreign Legion, the British Legion. That's my plan, and let's see if we can raise some money, please. So buy, knit, 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 join, 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 join the cowl. I'll set up a separate thread for that, so anyone doing the November, remember. It's been a really harrowing few days. My brain has stopped working. Anybody who wants to join the Remember Cowl can do so. There'll be a thread, and that's just for fun. You can also double dip, and you can enter it in the official Christmas cowl, as long as you cast on between now and the 25th of December and knit, and finish it by then as well, by the 25th of September. December! What's wrong with me? Clearly, it's too long. I've been talking for too long. It's time for me to stop. So, although this podcast episode is now a finished object, remember, life is a work in progress. Just take it one stitch at a time. Goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed episode 13. Prix Italia.